Chosen one, pay attention to what is happening in your body right now. Your breathing just changed. Your mind just went somewhere to last night, to something you saw in your sleep that stayed with you when the morning came. You have been carrying it all day, and you did not know where to take it. I want to say something to you before we go anywhere else. A warning from God is not bad news. That word warning, I know what it does to your chest. It sounds like a siren. It sounds like something dark approaching. But that is not the language of a father who loves you. His warnings are not the voice of a judge standing over you with a list of your failures. They are the voice of someone who sees the road ahead and loves you too much to let you walk into it without knowing what he already knows. God speaks in dreams because that is when you finally stop talking. When the noise of the day, the planning, the worrying, the constant managing of everything goes quiet, he slips something through. A symbol, a scene, a feeling that refuses to dissolve when morning light hits the ceiling. There was a man once who slept with a stone for a pillow, running from everything he had done, certain he was completely alone. And in that night, God appeared, not with instructions, not with a schedule or a plan, with a vision. The man woke up with dirt on his face and the presence of God on his life, and the first thing he said was, God was in this place. And I did not know it. What you experienced last night was that same presence in your room, in your specific life, leaving something behind for you to find. Before we go any further, I want you to know what I'm going to show you today, because this is worth staying for, all the way to the end. You are going to understand something about why God sends warnings that will permanently change how you hear them. You are going to receive a practical framework to decode what was sent to you, not a dream dictionary, something far more useful than that. And I am going to show you something about who you actually are, a truth about your identity in the middle of all of this that I believe you have needed to hear for a very long time. Stay with me through all of it. The part at the end is the part that shifts everything. Let me start with where most people begin and where most people stop. You woke up this morning and the first thing your mind did was explain the dream away. Maybe it was the stress. Maybe it was something you watched before bed. Maybe your brain was just working through everything that has been pressing on you lately. And here is the thing, that explanation is not entirely wrong. There is real science behind what the sleeping mind does at night. During REM sleep, the brain is processing, sorting, releasing, and filing away the emotional residue of waking life. Researchers have studied this for decades. Some dreams are the brain doing its maintenance work. That is true, and I am not going to stand here and tell you that every dream that has ever visited you was a direct message from heaven, but it is not the whole story. And the part that has been left out, the part that the modern world has spent a great deal of effort training you to ignore, is the part you felt this morning when you woke up, and that dream would not leave you alone. Because you have had hundreds of dreams that dissolved the moment you opened your eyes. This one did not. This one stayed. This one followed you through your morning routine, through the noise of your day, all the way into this moment right here. And there is a difference between those two experiences that is not just psychological. Somewhere inside you, you already know it. The ancient world understood something about this difference that we have almost entirely forgotten. Every major civilization that walked this earth, from Egypt to Israel to the early followers of Christ, they all recognized the same thing. The sleeping mind is not closed to the divine. In many ways, it is more open than the waking one. Because when you are asleep, the arguments stop, the defenses drop. The part of you that spends all day managing how you appear and controlling what you allow yourself to feel, it goes quiet. And in that quiet, something can finally get through. Scripture is not silent on this. From the very first pages, God speaks in dreams. He speaks to Jacob, a man running from his own family, sleeping on the ground in a field, certain he has no future, and through a dream he reframes everything Jacob thought was broken. He speaks to Joseph, a teenager, not yet tested, not yet proven, through dreams that carry the entire blueprint of the life he was being prepared for. He speaks to Solomon at the very moment. Solomon has just been given the throne and does not know how to hold it. He redirects an entire caravan of foreign scholars through a dream, rerouting their journey to protect the life of a child. This is not a minor footnote in the story of faith. This is a primary channel of divine communication. This is God saying, I will reach you where I can reach you. And for many of the people he has chosen, that place has been the night. So when you woke up this morning carrying something you could not shake, you were not being superstitious, you were not imagining things. You were responding correctly to something that carried a different quality than ordinary brain noise. You felt the difference. That feeling was not anxiety. That feeling was information. But here is where I need to take you deeper, because everything I have said so far is what most people already sense when they have a dream like this. They know it might mean something. They know this one felt significant. What they do not know, and this is where most teachings on divine dreams fall completely short, is why God would send a warning specifically. Why not a promise? Why not a vision of your future? Why not a word of comfort or encouragement or reassurance? Why, of all the things he could send through the night, a warning? That question is where this gets genuinely important. And the answer is going to change something in you. Let me show you something about the nature of divine warnings that I believe will permanently shift how you receive them. Every time God sends a warning in Scripture, it is to someone he is deeply, specifically invested in. Look at it carefully. He warns Noah, not a stranger, a man he calls righteous in his entire generation. He warns Abraham before the destruction of everything around him. He warns Joseph. He sends a warning through a dream to a pagan king, specifically to protect the life of a man God had chosen and was not finished with yet. Do you see the pattern? God does not waste urgent, specific, personal warnings on people he is indifferent toward. He does not compose a message, inscribe it in the language of dreams, and deliver it in the most intimate way possible through the sleeping mind of someone he loves, for people whose lives he is not actively shaping. A warning is, in itself, an act of election. It is God saying, I am close enough to you to see what you cannot see yet. I am invested enough in your story to interrupt your sleep rather than let you walk past something important. I am watching your life carefully enough to intervene before the turn that costs you more than it needs to. The warning in your dream was not a sign of his anger. It was a sign of his attention. And those are two fundamentally different things. Now here is where the teaching gets precise, because not all divine warnings carry the same shape. There are, broadly, three kinds. The first kind is directional. You are standing at the edge of a decision in a relationship, in your work, in a commitment you are beginning to enter, and God sees where that road leads from a vantage point you simply do not have yet. The warning is a recalibration, not a punishment, not a threat. A course correction offered before a wrong turn becomes a very long detour. The second kind is relational. There is someone in your life, someone close, someone you have been trusting or beginning to trust, and the dream is surfacing something about the nature of that connection that you have been choosing not to see clearly. Not necessarily that the person is evil, but that the dynamic between you is not what you have been telling yourself. Something needs to be seen honestly before it costs you something you cannot easily recover. And the third kind, and this is the one that most people receive and most people miss entirely, is internal. The warning is not about a choice ahead of you. It is not primarily about another person. It is about you, about the version of yourself that has been quietly forming in the slow, unseen choices of recent weeks and months. The one you have been becoming, degree by degree, without fully noticing the direction. Think about Joseph for a moment, the dreamer. His dreams are famous, but here is what most people miss about them. Those dreams The ones that got him thrown into a pit by his own brothers, those were not primarily prophecies about his family. His brothers' violent reaction revealed their character, yes, but the dreams themselves were always about Joseph's identity, about the distance between who he was in that ordinary season and who God had already seen him becoming. The warning encoded in those images of greatness was, this greatness that arrives before formation is not a blessing, it is a danger. God was not warning Joseph about his brothers. He was warning Joseph about the road between who he was and who he needed to become before what was promised could be safely received. Think of what God sent you like a GPS. When a GPS recalculates, it is not telling you that you are a failure. It is not telling you that you have ruined everything or that you are too far gone to find the right road. It is simply saying, the route you are currently on does not lead to the destination I have for you. There is a better road, and if you will listen for just a moment, I can show you where it is. A divine warning is a recalculation, not a dead end, a turn. But here is where I need to stop you, because what I just described, the three types, the GPS, the election principle, all of that is true. And all of that is still, in some important sense, the surface layer of what is actually happening in a dream like the one you received. Because there is something underneath all three of those warning types that almost no one talks about. A deeper truth that recontextualizes every single one of them and changes the question you should be asking entirely. And that is what I want to show you right now. I want to say this carefully, because the way I land this matters. I want you to slow down with me for just a moment. Stop the part of your mind that is already filing this away, already deciding what category the dream falls into, already reaching for an explanation. Just stay here, open, because what I am about to say changes the question entirely. Most people, when they receive a warning in a dream, immediately ask the same question. What is coming that I need to know about? What is approaching? What danger do I need to prepare for? That is the wrong question. God does not primarily send warnings about the future. He sends warnings about the present, specifically about the person you are becoming right now, in the small and quiet choices that seem insignificant, in the patterns that have been forming in the unseen places of your character, in the slow and widening distance between who you truly are and who you have been performing for the world around you. The warning in your dream was not about something coming toward you. It was a mirror, held up in the one place where you could not turn away from it, in the deep, unguarded quiet of your own sleep. Let that land. God was not warning you about what is coming. He was warning you about who you are becoming. Now look back at the three warning types I described, but through this new lens. The directional warning, the one about a choice ahead, it is not really about the choice. It is about whether the person you are right now is genuinely aligned with the life you are being called into. The choice is just the place where the misalignment becomes visible enough to address. The relational warning, the one about someone in your life, it is not really about them. It is about what you are tolerating in that connection that mirrors something you have been tolerating in yourself. What we allow in others is almost always a reflection of what we have quietly made peace with inside. And the internal warning, the one that points directly at you, that one now makes complete sense. It is the most honest, the most direct, and the most loving thing God could do. He is not condemning you. He is showing you something you have been avoiding in the daylight, because He trusts you enough to believe you can handle seeing it. And He loves you enough to believe you will do something with what you see. This is not an accusation, it is an invitation. And now the real question becomes this: what does accepting the invitation actually look like? What do you do with a warning that is a mirror? How do you respond to something this honest without falling into shame, without spiraling into fear, without convincing yourself that the gap is too wide to ever cross? That is exactly what we are going to walk through together, and where God's warning becomes something you were not expecting, it becomes a gift. Stay with me. Here is where many people make a mistake. And it is not a small one. When God sends a mirror in a dream, when he shows you the warning that is really a reflection, the first instinct is to resolve it immediately, to fix it, to figure out the entire meaning right now, to research every symbol, to analyze every image, to decode the whole thing until there is a clear plan of action and the discomfort disappears. That is the fear response, not the faith response. The fear response says, I need to make this uncertainty stop as fast as possible. The faith response says something quieter. It says, I am going to give this the respect it deserves before I rush to manage it. I am going to let it do what it came to do. Because here is what I have come to understand about the way God speaks through the night. He sends the message first. He delivers the weight of it, the feeling that something matters, that something was said, and then he unfolds the meaning as you create the conditions to receive it. Not all at once. Not in the first 5 minutes of anxious analysis, layer by layer, as you stay open to the conversation. And those conditions begin with 3 things. They are simpler than you might expect. The first is stillness, not silence. You might be in the middle of a noisy day, or lying somewhere where the world is still moving around you. But there is an internal stillness that does not require external quiet. It is simply the decision to stop arguing with the message, to stop explaining it away, to hold it and say, I received something. I do not fully understand it yet, but I am not going to dismiss it before I have really listened. The second is honesty. This is the harder one, because the mirror is showing you something you have been choosing to look past. And honesty requires you to name it, even if only to yourself, in the quiet of your own mind. What would you have to admit if the warning is true? Not catastrophize. Not spiral into every worst-case scenario your imagination can generate. Just admit one thing. What is the one area in your patterns, in your habits, in the slow drift of recent choices that this dream circled? The third is surrender, and this is not passivity. Surrender here means releasing the grip on needing to control the outcome. It means trusting that God did not give you a mirror to humiliate you. He gave it to you because he believes the gap can be closed, because he has already seen the other side of it, because the warning is not the ending of your story, it is the beginning of its next movement. Now I want to show you something that bridges the spiritual and the scientific in a way I think will genuinely surprise you. God speaks most clearly through the night, because that is when your brain is operating in its deepest, most receptive state. Neuroscientists have a name for what happens in that threshold between waking and deep sleep. It is called brain entrainment, and at the center of that state is a frequency of brain activity known as the gamma wave. Research from institutions like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and Princeton has linked gamma wave activity to what scientists describe as heightened intuition, sudden clarity, extraordinary moments of perception, the kind of insight that arrives whole, fully formed, bypassing ordinary logic entirely. In other words, the state where God's voice gets through most clearly is a measurable brain state. The ancients called it the open ear of the spirit. The neuroscientists call it gamma entrainment. They are describing the same door. Here is what the research also shows. In most adults, gamma wave activity has been dramatically suppressed. Through chronic stress, through the relentless noise of modern life, through what researchers call the decline effect, the brain learns to stay guarded, to stay defended, to stay in a frequency that keeps the walls up. And a guarded brain, no matter how sincerely it wants to receive, keeps running the same protective patterns. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent over 3 decades studying this, drawing from research at Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Berkeley, and Columbia. And what he developed after all of those years is a 7-minute audio track that uses brain entrainment technology to gently reactivate gamma wave activity while you are fully awake, not to replace prayer, not to replace the dream or the sacred practices that are already part of your life, but to make the receptive state of the night available to you in the daylight, so that when God speaks, you are already positioned to receive it. Now here is the part I want you to understand about access. A single session of professional biofeedback therapy, the traditional way to work with gamma wave activation, costs around $300 per hour. The equipment to do this at home runs close to $7,000. Dr. Lake took 34 years of research and compressed it into a 7-minute track that you can use anywhere, sitting in a chair, going about your day. The standard price for this is $49. But Dr. Lake made a decision. He wanted this technology in the hands of people who genuinely needed it, not only those who could easily afford the premium. So for anyone accessing it through the link I have shared, the price comes down to $39. Not $49. $39. And it comes with 4 additional resources at no extra cost: a track for children, a classic text that inspired one of the most widely known films on the power of the mind, a guided visualization across 4 areas of life, and a practical daily framework you can print and keep. And if you use it and feel nothing, no shift, no difference, nothing that resonates, you receive a complete refund. No questions asked. You carry no risk in this. There are imitation versions circulating online that use ordinary audio with no actual entrainment technology embedded. They produce no effect. Please only use the link in the description and the pinned comment below. That is the only place I can confirm you are getting the verified version. This is not a miracle, it is a tool. Whether it is for you or not, what matters right now is this. You can cultivate the posture of the night in the day. You can practice stillness. You can practice honesty. You can practice surrender. And as you do, the meaning of what was sent to you will continue to unfold in layers, exactly the way God intended it to. Now I want to take you somewhere deeper. Because everything we have covered so far, the warning, the mirror, the 3 responses, all of it is pointing towards something larger, toward a question I believe God has been asking you for much longer than last night. The dream you received was not the beginning of a conversation. It was a crescendo. God has been speaking to you, not just in this one dream in the night, in the conversation that ended before you were ready, in the door that would not open no matter how many times you returned to it, in the strange, quiet peace you felt in a moment that looked like failure from the outside, but somehow carried a different quality on the inside, in the persistent restlessness, that low and steady hum beneath the surface of your ordinary days that has been telling you for months, perhaps longer, that something in the life you are living is not fully aligned with the life you were made for. He has been in all of it, speaking consistently, through the texture of your circumstances, through the people who crossed your path at the exact right moment and left something changed in you, through the grief that arrived without a clean reason, through the sudden clarity that came and faded before you could fully hold it. The dream came because you needed the version of the message that could not be explained away, the version that bypassed every argument your rational mind has been trained to run. It arrived in the one place where your defenses were completely down, and it left something behind that your mourning could not dissolve. He has been speaking. The dream was his way of making sure you knew it. And now here is what I want to tell you about who you actually are in the middle of all of this. You are a seer. I want to be careful with that word because it gets used carelessly. A seer is not necessarily someone who stands in front of crowds delivering prophetic messages or who has dramatic visions in the night. A seer, in the oldest and most grounded sense of that word, is simply someone whose spiritual sensitivity runs deeper than what is ordinary. Someone who notices what others walk past without a second thought. Someone who feels the atmosphere in a room before anyone in it has said a word. Someone who senses when something is shifting in a relationship, in a season, in the invisible mechanics of their own life, before the visible evidence has arrived to confirm it. You have always had this. You may not have known what to call it. You may have been told at some point that it was anxiety, that it was being too sensitive, that it was imagining things. You may have learned to apologize for it or shrink it or explain it in smaller terms so that other people would not be uncomfortable with the depth of what you carry. But sensitivity of that quality is not a weakness that got out of hand. It is a gift that has not yet been fully named and claimed. The fact that the dream stayed with you, the fact that you could not shake it, the fact that something in you refused to let it dissolve into the ordinary noise of the day, that is the seer in you, recognizing something that arrived through a channel you were built to receive. There is an ancient Hebrew word for dream, shalom, and what most people do not know is that shalom shares its root with a word that means to be strengthened, to be restored in power. The ancient writers were not making a minor poetic choice when they wove those two meanings together. They understood something we have almost completely forgotten, that to dream, in the deepest sense, is not just to receive a message, it is to be fortified. The dream itself is an act of strengthening. God did not send you a warning to leave you cowering in fear. The act of sending it, the intimacy of that communication, the specificity of that mirror held up in the night, was itself a strengthening. It was God saying to you, you are strong enough to receive this, you are ready enough to hold it without breaking, you are far enough along in your formation that this reflection will not destroy you, it will refine you. You are also a light bearer. What you carry, this sensitivity, this depth, this willingness to sit with something that most people would quickly dismiss it, is not only for your own journey. There are people whose path will intersect with yours, who will need someone who has walked through exactly what you are walking through right now, who sat with a dream they did not fully understand, and chose to stay with it rather than explain it away. Your willingness to receive this warning, to let it do its work in you, does not just change the trajectory of your own life. It changes what you carry into every room, every conversation, every relationship from this point forward. And you are a spiritual warrior. Not a warrior in the sense of aggression or combat. A warrior in the sense of someone who holds ground, who does not collapse under the weight of a hard and uncertain season, who can receive something difficult, a mirror, a warning, a painful recalibration, and remain standing, remain open, trust the process, even when the road ahead is not yet clearly visible. You are not behind, you are not too broken, you are not too far down the wrong road to find the right one again. The warning came because there is something worth protecting the path toward. God does not intervene with this level of care and precision in the life of someone he has given up on. He does not compose a message and deliver it through the intimacy of the sleeping mind for someone whose story he is no longer invested in. The warning was an act of presence. It was God saying, I am still here. I am still watching. I still believe in where this is going. Let me bring this together. What you received last night was one message in a long conversation that has been happening through the texture of your circumstances, through the people and moments that have shaped this season, and finally, undeniably, through the dream itself. The warning was a mirror, not a verdict. It was showing you the gap between who you currently are and who you are being prepared to become. It was not condemnation. It was an act of extraordinary intimacy, God close enough to you to see what you cannot see, invested enough to make sure you received it in the one place where your defenses were completely down. And now, here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, right now, wherever you are, in whatever position you are in. Inside your own mind, just there, quietly. No one else needs to see this. I want you to name the one thing the dream circled. You already know what it is. It has been sitting at the edge of your awareness since you woke up this morning. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to know exactly what to do about it yet. Just let it be named. Let it be real. Let it be seen. That naming is the beginning of the honest response. That is the first movement toward the person the warning was sent to protect. And then, still inside, in the quiet beneath everything else, simply receive this truth. What was sent to you in the night was sent with love. It was not sent to frighten you. It was not sent to expose you. It was sent because you are someone worth speaking to with this level of care, and you are allowed to receive it that way. I want to be honest with you about what I do not know. I do not know the specific meaning of your dream. Only you and God carry the full context of your life, your history, your story. What I have given you today is a framework, not a verdict, and not every dream that feels significant is a direct divine communication. But the ones that carry that particular weight, that refuse to dissolve with morning, that follow you into the middle of your day, those deserve more than a quick dismissal. You know the difference. You have always known. You were brought here today for a reason. And the fact that you stayed all the way through tells me something real about who you are. You are someone who does not walk past the sacred when it arrives. You stay with it. You take it seriously. You let it do its work. That is not a small thing. In fact, that is everything. Let us close this together. Father, we come to you out of the night, out of the dreams that stayed, out of the weight that followed us into the morning and would not let go, out of the quiet, persistent feeling that something was said and something is required of us. We are grateful, not in spite of the warning because of it, because a God who warns is a God who is near. A God who interrupts sleep with urgent love is a God who has not looked away. You have been in this place in every hard season, in every night that felt too quiet or too heavy, and many of us did not recognize it. We recognize it now. You see what has been carried alone, the questions held in the dark that there was nowhere safe to put, the confusion that has been managed and hidden because it felt like weakness, the faithfulness in the small moments that no one else witnessed, the choosing to stay when leaving was easier, the choosing to trust when every external sign pointed the other direction. You saw all of it. Not one moment was invisible to you, and so we release. We release the fear that the warning was a judgment. Release. We release the long habit of waking up and immediately explaining away what you placed in the night. Release. We release the quiet agreement that says divine communication is for other people, more qualified people, people whose lives are more together than ours. Release. We release the identity of someone who cannot hear. Release. We release every dream that was dismissed before it was understood, every signal that was buried under the noise of getting through the day. Release. We release the belief that the gap between who we are and who we are called to become is too wide to cross. Release. We release the performance of being fine when something inside has been asking for longer than we want to admit to be honestly seen. Release. And now we receive. We receive the full identity of the seer, the one who does not walk past what God places in the path, who honors the sacred when it arrives, who trusts the depth of their perception rather than apologizing for it. We receive the courage of the light bearer, the willingness to carry genuine clarity into spaces that have been operating in confusion, to be a point of steady, unshakable light in the lives of the people connected to us. We receive the posture of the spiritual warrior, the capacity to hold ground in the uncertain season, to remain standing under the weight of what does not yet make sense, to trust what cannot yet be seen. We open every door that fear and disbelief and the long practice of self-protection has kept closed. We invite the right connections, the right people, the right conversations, the right moments of sudden clarity to arrive in the form and at the pace that is genuinely aligned with where we are being led, and we cover what is being built. Protect the openness that was created in this time. Guard it from the voice that will arrive tomorrow morning and say that was just emotion, that was just a video, that meant nothing, move on. Protect what has been stirred from being explained away before it has had the chance to take root and grow into something real. Guard what has been lifted from being pulled back down by the weight of old habits and old agreements about what is possible. Now let us declare it. I am a seer. I receive what God sends in the night, and I honor it in the day. I am a light bearer. What I carry does not belong only to me, it is meant for every person I will ever meet. I am a spiritual warrior. I hold ground. I do not collapse. I trust what I cannot yet fully see. We are the ones who do not walk past the sacred. We receive it, we stay with it, we let it do its full work, and we become, by the grace of God, exactly who we were always meant to be. It is done. It is sealed. We receive it. In Jesus' name. Amen. Take a breath and let that settle for just a moment. Before you go, type the word awake in the comments below. Just that one word. It tells me something landed here today, and when I see it from you, I know the message found where it was meant to find. For anyone who felt something stir when I shared the 7-minute brain entrainment tool, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Only through that link for the verified version, with the full technology and all 4 bonus resources included. And if you know someone who woke up this week carrying a dream, they did not know what to do with someone who has been turning it over in their mind and wondering if it meant something, send this to them today. They may have been waiting for exactly this conversation. You were not here by accident. You never are.